Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. People working in shops? Disgusting. I demand all clerks, servers, associates, assistants, etc. be either robots or gray amorphous blobs. But certainly not people. Karen's logic is weird. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Those people shouldn't be allowed to work here. I, 20-year-old female, work retail as a cashier. The place I work just had about 1/3 of our cashiers leave for school, so we're pretty short-handed, but we just hired a bunch of new people who are currently being trained. One of these new hires, we'll call him Cam, is in his late teens, early 20s, and is not white. I think he's either Latino or mixed race, not sure which. One of my managers, we'll call her Emma, is well over 6 feet tall and extremely black. However, I'm white. I'm about the whitest person I know as far as appearances go. Like, I have gray eyes and skin so pale you can see an intricate map on my circulatory system. I'm Irish and the sun hates me, so I come by it honestly. Trust me. All of this matters in the story. Anyway, they have me working the self-checks by the doors on one side of the store, which is painfully slow on a Tuesday afternoon. So I'm wafting around my post, bored out of my mind, doing mindless tasks while I watch the clock eternally edge toward quitting time, when I notice 2 older women standing between my checkouts and the doors, checking their receipt. Not totally unusual, so I ignore them for now and continue arranging bags. That is, until I notice the younger of the 2, probably around 60 or 70, get visibly agitated about something. So being the good and bored customer service representative I am, I edge slightly closer to figure out if I need to intervene or not. At this point, the younger woman, Karen, notices me and waves me over. I ask what the problem is, and she tells me that one of the new guys accidentally rang up some of her items more than once and didn't catch it before cashing her out. Simple mistake with a simple fix, happens all the time. So all she has to do, since she hasn't left the store yet, is either show a manager or someone at the customer service desk her receipt and the items in her cart, and she'll get a refund for the extra items. So as she's talking to me, she points out Cam is the one who rang her up. I smile and say something along the lines of, "Oh yeah, he's new, sorry about that." She shoots me an annoyed look and makes a comment about those kind of people always making mistakes. I didn't know what she meant at first, but I just assumed she was talking about college kids and ignored it. I start explaining to Karen how this can be fixed and point out customer service is the best option at the moment because I don't have any way to summon a manager, so waiting for one would probably take longer than going to the service desk. As I point her in that direction, I see my manager, Emma, at the service desk helping a customer with something. Karen sees Emma too. Karen makes a face and refuses to go to customer service, and I can't give her the refund myself, so we're forced to wait for a manager. A couple of minutes go by. Karen complaining the whole time while I try to see if there's a manager nearby who can help her out. Karen makes a few more comments about Cam, and being the oblivious little hamster I am, I still don't realize what her problem with him or the service desk was. I then see Emma walking past, done with the other customer. So I say, "Oh, there's my manager. Let me just call her over. Hey, Emma." She comes over and I relate Karen's story to her. I have to do it because Karen's refusing to speak at this point. Emma takes her to the empty register in front of where I'm stationed and starts the process of refunding Karen. While this is going on, I overhear Karen make the same comment about those people never doing anything right. Emma stops, stares her down for a solid few seconds, and goes back to doing what she was doing without saying a word. At this point, I figure out what's going on, and I start dying internally and trying really hard not to laugh. Karen has to pass my post to leave the store, so I hear her closing remark as she's leaving and slamming her receipt down into her cart. Those people shouldn't be allowed to work here. And our second story. You won't pay for my hotel? Okay, I'll drag your name through the mud and you'll pay for a more expensive hotel. I promise I am the least petty person you'll meet, but this ask just took me over the edge. I work for a very large company, make very good money, and work long hours often, which up until this point I've been totally fine doing. Night meetings until 10 p.m.? Fine. Drive 2 hours to major plant multiple times a week? Alrighty. But this past week, we had a global supplier team fly in from Japan. FaceTime at the plant is incredibly important. This means I need to be at the plant every single day for the next 2.5 weeks. I have 2 bosses, a direct boss man and the big boss lady. We'll call them Joe and Jill. When discussing this trip from our global counterparts, $25K each person, Joe and I talked to Jill about spending a couple of nights in a local hotel so we could cut back on driving. She said, that's not necessary. You guys can just drive. I'll approve 1 night at a hotel so you can do relationship building with the Japan team. I might have lost y'all already with the crazy hours and long driving, but I could maybe get on board with this if it wasn't for Tuesday mornings. Tuesday mornings, we have a couple critical global calls at the plant, and with the Japanese team in town, we really should be there in person for collaboration. Myself, Joe, and Jill all agree on this. I push back on Jill and mention the Tuesday morning early calls. No dice. Y'all, the meetings are at 6 a.m. On top of this, we have Monday meetings till 9:30 p.m. So I'd have to try to quickly fall asleep after the night meeting, then wake up at 3 or 3:30 and leave before 4 to be there on time, driving 2 hours in the dead of night. In Wisconsin, after maybe 5 hours of sleep, if I'm lucky. There are 3 Tuesday mornings with the Japan team in town. So what did I do? I booked hotels Monday night anyway. Nice ones. Then proceeded to tell everyone that I'd be local on Monday nights for relationship building. That's cool, the company's helping you cut back on driving. Nah, they wouldn't pay, but that's fine. I'm just paying out of pocket. I was honest, professional, but not shy that the company was not paying for this. I knew this would not look good. The first Monday night, my poor Joe was getting ready for the trek home and said, hey, don't stay late, it's a long drive. And I comfortably said, actually, I got a local hotel, so I'm 10 minutes down the road, but drive safe. The longest, pregnantest pause. But Jill said we can't stay local while the Japan team is in town. Nah, she said she wouldn't pay for it, which is fine. I'm just going to pay for it out of my own pocket. Y'all, the pause got longer. 404 does not compute. Are you visiting a local friend or something? Nope, just for work. I just found it to be a safety concern to drive at night after just a few hours sleep, so I paid for it out of pocket. Oh, and I told the Japan team we can get dinner a few nights on Monday since I'll be local. WTF is happening? But Jill said no. Well, I can talk to Jill and see if we can cover it under company expenses since it's work-related. Have you booked yet? Whatever you think is right. And yep, it's booked and non-refundable. The next day, I got an email from Jill informing me that if I felt so strongly that it was a safety concern to stay local on Mondays, to expense the 3 hotel days through the system retroactively, the same way I would if I forgot to pay with my company card. I 100% knew they wouldn't make me pay what should be a company expense or punish me for making a good safety choice. Joe gets to stay local for the next 2 Mondays too. The sugar on top, every time I drive to and from the plant, they pay me about $120 in miles. I could have literally booked me a cheap hotel for the same price. Instead, they'll be paying for my $220 a night in hotels of my choice, which I specifically picked in a fun area and upgraded to get a crap ton of rewards points. Don't cheap out on your invaluable employees. You would think companies would learn. The bad publicity of an employee being forced to drive 4 hours daily on top of a full day with virtually no sleep? And our last story. Neighbors allow their children to damage my property. Last fall, we moved into a new house and less than 2 weeks later had a baby. We were pretty focused on the whole parenting thing and failed to notice how often the neighbor on one side was using our property for several things without any kind of permission or discussion. It started with his kids spending their days in our driveway drawing with sidewalk chalk. We had to ask them to stop because we seriously feared running them over when backing out of the garage, as they have absolutely no supervision or regard for cars. They stopped drawing and started using our garage door as a bumper stop while riding their scooters and bikes. They physically bashed into the garage door and dented it. I asked them to stop. After a dozen or so instances, they finally stopped. In the spring, we noticed that the dad was parking his trailer on our side of the property between our 2 driveways. The property line is very clear with fences and different types of landscaping. In addition, he was pulling his garbage cans through our gravel and making huge tracks. As we're in the middle of a pandemic and we have a baby, we decided to write a note and leave it with our information while also lining the property line with large rocks. Never heard from them, but they'd moved the rocks into a pile in the front of our side of the property. We moved the rocks back again and thought we'd made our position very clear. At the beginning of June, the dad/husband came and rang our door. He proceeded to tell us that because he's parked his trailer like that since he moved in, and no one has cared before, so we can't care either. At no point did he ask if he could park on our side or use our property. He said it's never been a problem and I should be able to do it. We politely said we did not give him permission to do so and explained that we intended to landscape the area and his trailer and use of our property would ruin the landscaping we'd planned. The entire conversation was difficult because he spoke over me the entire time and talked to me like a child. At the end of the confrontation, he said we were rude neighbors and stormed off. Since then, he parks further over, moves our landscaping rocks constantly, and aggressively moves his garbage cans through the gravel, leaving marks like he was zigzagging back and forth. This weekend, I started taking photos as proof of his parking and the way he's ruining our gravel with his garbage cans. He came out and glared at me. I very nicely again asked him to stop. He replied, "Why?" And when I said because it's my property and we've asked him not to, he replied, "Whatever," and walked away. Now we come to today. I'm done. I'm so frustrated that this guy feels like he's entitled to unquestioned use of property that's not his. Edit. Put cameras up yesterday. He's already let his kids damage my property, garage door, and also destroyed landscaping we put in. It's on tape. I can sue him to force him to replace it. We also have him officially trespassed from my property because I have footage of him and his kids entering without permission, which can come with a hefty legal slap if he continues to violate it. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.